Hello BookTube. Today I'm going to be doing two tags on Wednesday. The first tag is the Rapid Fire book tag. This tag was created by Camilla at Girl Reading, and I saw this tag in numerous places, but most recently from Michael K. Vaughan, and I will leave links to both videos down below. Questions. Ebook or physical book? Physical book. I have tried to get into ebooks over the past year, and they just don't do it for me. Paperback or hardback? Paperback. I do like the durability of hardbacks, but their size and their expense make them less desirable than paperbacks, particularly trade paperbacks. Online or in store? Online. I pretty much do all of my book shopping online. I have a number of sites I use. Amazon, the largest, Libris, which is a used bookstore conglomerate. It's basically a used bookstore online. It's a used online bookstore that has a number of sellers who put their books up, and you can order from them. Many of these have physical stores themselves. But I use them a lot. I also use Book Depository, Book People in Austin, Powell's in Portland, both famous independent bookstores. I also have shopped with the Princeton University Press and the University of Chicago Press. On the other side of this, in-store shopping, I mentioned in one of Steve's videos last week when he talked about going to Barnes & Noble and asking everybody what our Barnes & Noble stories are, that I hadn't been in a Barnes & Noble in 5 years. And I haven't been in a Barnes & Noble in nearly 5 years. Now, at the time, I thought, or I was incensed by the fact that half the store was taken over by a tech store. There were long tables with nooks propped up and all of the accoutrements of nooks and what have you, and I was upset. And then, of course, the children's section was about as much toys as it was books, so I was less than impressed. Although, that said, it is going on 2 years since I've actually done physical book shopping. In August of 2019, the last time I went to Golden's, I took the bus, and that was a bit of a disaster. It basically, by the time the bus got me to Golden's, the bus to bring me home was already waiting for me. And while I did get a chance to shop, that experience put me off of using the bus taking the bus to Golden's. And then it's going on 2 years since I went to the last Friends at the Library book sale. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to go this year because of finding transportation. I don't drive, and my brother and sister-in-law are incredibly worried about COVID. So unless it's absolutely necessary, they're not going anywhere. So for the foreseeable future, even if I would like to go in-store shopping, because I do, there's a catharsis, a joy to in-store shopping that online shopping doesn't necessarily give you. But for the foreseeable future, my book shopping is going to be exclusively online. Trilogies or series? Given that the last question also refers to this, I will leave a more detailed explanation for the end. But I prefer trilogies to series. Heroes or villains? Villains. I do like a good villain a bit more than I do a good hero. Oftentimes, particularly in science fiction and fantasy, and comics, manga, the villains make the story. A book you want everyone to read. I'm going to have to punt on this one. I mean, my reading tastes aren't necessarily everyone else's reading tastes, and recommending a book for everyone, I don't think there really is one that really works. Recommend an underrated book. For this one, I would go with Post Well, Post Square by Christina Spohr. It is a big history of the end of the Cold War, from Tiananmen Square to the end of the Soviet Union, and it is just amazing. I loved that book and wish it had gotten more attention and more press. The last book you finished, The Habsburg Empire, A New History by Pieter Judson, I think is how you pronounce it. I could be wrong. It is a big history of the Habsburg Empire from the reign of Maria Theresa to the end of the Habsburg monarchy at the end of World War I. And I will give my thoughts about the book on Friday with Weekly Reads. The last book you bought, Noble Ambitions by Adrian Tinniswood. I would have had the book in yesterday, but as I will explain during my September book haul, which should be next Thursday, events happened. But I ended up buying it this morning after some back and forth between other books I wanted to pick up, which I will explain again in my September book haul. Weirdest thing you've used as a bookmark? Excuse me. I don't think I've ever used anything that wasn't a bookmark. But the weirdest bookmark I've ever used is a fabric one. It was, I think, a rose. It was just like a line of roses that I'm not entirely sure where it came from or who made it or anything. It just, I one day found a random rose fabric bookmark, or it's like a cross stitch, and I really loved it and used it for years, and then it disappeared. And when I was in 6th grade, I took home ec, and the last section of the class was sewing, and one of our projects was to make fabric cross stitch bookmarks. And I really enjoyed that one too. I think that one was like a basket of flowers. And I have no idea what happened to that one or the rose bookmark. And I've been actually looking to find fabric bookmarks like that, but I have not had much success. Used books, yes or no? Yes, I love used books. Most of the books I buy are used. Top 3 favorite genres. Going with fiction, fantasy, science fiction, and I guess maybe literary fiction, even though I have a very toxic relationship with literary fiction, which may or may not be changing. I don't know. We'll have to wait until Friday to find out. For nonfiction, it would be history, science, and I think literary criticism. And then, of course, poetry is somewhere in there, although poetry as a genre, it's a bit uncertain. Borrow or buy. I used to be a huge patron of my local library, but with the pandemic, it is incredibly difficult for me to go. While I could take the bus, I have taken the bus to the library. The library during the pandemic removed a lot of the seating. So while I could go, I would not have anywhere to sit for the 15 to 30 minutes it would take for me to wait for the bus. Waco Transit, as much as I do enjoy, I have liked their service. Enjoy it isn't maybe the right word to say, but one of the annoying, it's a great service because it does offer a way for people who don't drive or who don't have cars outside of Waco to get transportation into Waco or around the surrounding communities. But the wait times, particularly the waiting window to get picked up and for it to go and to come back, can be a bit annoying. And oftentimes I have to wait for 30 or more minutes to get picked up. And then the hour-long tours to come back. So I have, so since I really can't go to the library, I buy. And even when I could go to the library, my buying has been picking up over the past year or so. Characters or plot? Both. Long or short books? They need to be just right. I do prefer books on the shorter end or the mid-range end compared to long books. I do find if I'm reading long books that I occasionally grow tired of them, although I've kind of gotten out of that. Long or short chapters? Short chapters. Same thing, but sometimes long chapters, particularly in nonfiction books, can get incredibly tedious, which is a bit of a spoiler for Friday. Name the first 3 books you think of. Maria Theresa, The Queen, and Small Days and Nights. So, Maria Theresa is a big biography of Maria Theresa by, Barbara Stollberg-Rilinger. I'm blanking on her last name. It's coming out in January that I really want. The Queen by Matthew Dennison. It's a biography of Queen Elizabeth II that I really want, and I'll probably pick up the UK paperback release when it comes out in January, even though I much prefer the American cover. But Head of these books seems to have some trouble with American distribution, leaving it at that. And Small Days and Nights by Tashani Doshi is a novel that I read or had a go at late last year that, despite the fact that I did bail on it, I kind of want to have a bail redemption shot at it. And I was thinking of ordering it this morning instead of Noble Ambitions, which I will get to, hopefully I'll remember, when I do my September book haul. Books that made you laugh or cry? None that I can think of off the top of my head. Our world or fictional worlds? Fictional worlds. Definitely. A whole lot more adventure. Audiobooks, yes or no? No. Do you ever judge a book by its cover? Yes. Often to my detriment. Book to movie or book to TV adaptations? I would go book to TV adaptations. I mean, yes, movies have a larger budget. But at the same time, I think a movie can really only adapt a very short novel or short story without losing a whole lot. While a TV adaptation can do a bit more. But at the same time, sometimes a TV adaptation can get bloated. I think, now I haven't seen the series, but I'm thinking American Gods could have been done in one season. There's no reason why it had 2 seasons, let alone 3. And that is one thing I would like to see more of a sort of a masterpiece theater or mystery or some kind of anthology series where basically every season a new book gets adapted. Like having a regular crew of actors on the show, but it's a different book adaptation every season or something like that. And finally, series or standalones? I prefer standalones. If we're talking about fiction, and more specifically science fiction and fantasy, I do prefer standalones. Largely because a series, even a trilogy, can get a little bloated, a little tired as the series goes on. And I ultimately prefer, like if it is a series, I prefer television or a comic or manga series to prose fiction because of the bloating and stuff. But I'm thinking something is coming because I have a UPS delivery, so I'm going to go and check that. So if you would like to do this tag, consider yourself tagged, and I will be back shortly with the second tag I'm going to be doing today. So until then, BookTube, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.